themselves as all these obnoxious men, instead of me, the supreme gentleman.
As well as the videos, he wrote a long, detailed, and deeply disturbing document called My Twisted World, The Story of Elliot Rodger. It was emailed to a handful of people, including his mother and father, at 9:18 p.m. on the day of the killings. It begins with these lines.
Humanity. All of my suffering on this world has been at the hands of humanity, particularly women. It has made me realize just how brutal and twisted humanity is as a species.
How does a deeply troubled young man, with a growing hatred of the world, turn from awkward teenager to ruthless killer? These videos and the manifesto give us the unique opportunity to see inside his mind and examine what went wrong. It is the story of a mass murderer of the digital age, told by the killer himself.
This is the story of how I, Elliot Rodger, came to be. This is the story of my entire life. It is a dark story of sadness, anger, and hatred. In this magnificent story, I will disclose every single detail about my life. This tragedy did not have to happen.
Elliot Rodger had a privileged life. He filmed this video himself, sitting in upper class on a flight into Los Angeles. He was born in London in 1991, the family moving to LA when he was 6 years old. Both parents worked in the film industry. His father was assistant director on The Hunger Games. They divorced when he was 7. For him, this was a turning point.
I was absolutely shocked, outraged, and above all, overwhelmed. This was a huge, life-changing event.
Lots of kids have parents who separate, who are divorced, who have acrimonious marriages, who form new partnerships. All of that is in the normal range. When people react to that as though this is somehow their unique problem, they have to look at why do they think they're so special in that respect.
He saw himself as a very rejected person, as though he were actually seeking out his peers, seeking out women, and he was being pushed away, he was being rejected. But in reality, when you talk to people who knew him, he really seemed to be this other type of person, where he was not, in fact, actively seeking out others. He was actually choosing to isolate himself.
But Elliot Rodger's failure to engage with the world soon went beyond the shyness of a child.
He didn't make eye contact with anyone. When we think about what we each give each other as social cues to let us know whether or not we want someone to reach out to us or approach us, there's usually social cues, body language, eye contact that indicates to another person that I see you, I would like for you to say hello, or I want to say hello to you. And he really didn't do that.
His former high school principal remembers a silent, withdrawn child.
What I saw was a really socially awkward young man, very shy, very timid, didn't really quite know what to say or how to say. Wouldn't have even been able to tell you what his voice sounded like at that time. There was absolutely not one word that he ever expressed.
His introduction to sex was through pornography at a cyber cafe.
I saw an older teenager watching pornography. I saw in detail a video of a man having sex with a hot girl. Finding out about sex is one of the things that truly destroyed my entire life. Sex. The word fills me with hate.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. Right now I'm just taking a walk through the park in this really nice, secluded area. I'm just contemplating about my life and how unfair it's been lately. Hell, it's been unfair for the last 8 years. Ever since I hit puberty.
In making his videos, Rodger returns several times to the places that were special to him as a child.
And here I am at Serrania Park. Most significant place of my childhood. My parents used to take me here when I was 6 years old. I have some very happy memories here. That's where my father taught me how to swing. It still looks exactly the same.
It's all right.
Is he friendly?
Yeah, normally he is, but he's a little worried about your camera.
That's okay.
For much of his life, Elliot Rodger lived in a cyber world, his online conversations reflecting a growing hatred and anger, In his final days and months, he was immersed in online forums and obsessed with computer games.
Well, for everyone, playing games is a refuge from the real world and the responsibilities that it carries. Most people have no trouble separating fantasy from reality. On the other hand, if you immerse someone in a chat room or forum in which everyone's sharing the same view and taking turns making extremist statements, that will only make matters worse. If you want to get worse at what you're angry about, go join other angry people.
I'm just sitting in my car right now, enjoying the view of the beach. And my view has been ruined by this sight right here. In front of me, sitting right there on that bench, is a young couple.
Young people together triggered intense anger in Roger. The couple he filmed here may well have had a close call.
They're kissing right now. It's torture for me to watch, but I have to do this.
I've seen the video that he made of that, where he's focusing on this couple on a bench, and to be absolutely honest, when I saw that, I half expected him to leave the camera on the dashboard and to see him get out of the car and head out. I mean, that couple were incredibly lucky.
I can only imagine the heavenly things they'll be doing together when they go back home tonight. It's not fair. Life is not fair.
Towards the end of 2012, Roger decides on revenge, especially against young couples. He plans it with meticulous care. Just before Christmas, he buys his first gun.
I decided to purchase the Glock 34 semi-automatic pistol, an efficient and highly accurate weapon. I brought it back to my room and felt a new sense of power. Roger's willingness to conduct the Day of Retribution shows that he's got an intractable personality. He stockpiles ammunition, he buys guns, he never shows any flexibility. All he thinks about is, how am I going to commit this spree?
Friday, May 23rd, 2014. The Day of Retribution arrives. The killing will soon begin. His last video is about to be released to the world.
You deserve to be annihilated. And I will give that to you. You never showed me any mercy, and so I will show you none. I hate all of you. Humanity is a disgusting, wretched, depraved species.
Changing Perceptions with Documentary Son 4.
Hey, Elliot Roger here. Oh, well, check it out. There's me. And all my fabulousness. Oh yeah.
When you get to a certain level of narcissistic behavior, it could also enter into what we call a personality disorder. This is where an individual's way of thinking and feeling and interacting with the world is dominated by their narcissism.
I desire girls. I'm sexually attracted to girls.
He can't cope with being rejected.
But girls are not sexually attracted to me.
He blames the other people around him because he can't possibly be at fault.
There's a major problem with that. A major problem. That's a problem that I intend to rectify.
So when you take the narcissism, you take the blaming other people style of coping, and someone who feels they've fallen short of where they should be in life, those tend to be three of the strongest factors we find in spree killings.
What comes through loud and clear here is his detachment. His tone during this is a cold, instructional, calculated tone.
I, in all my magnificence and power, I will not let this fly. It's an injustice that needs to be dealt with.
There's no emotion in his voice. It's cruel. He's detached from it in his own emotions, and yet conveying cruelty as he describes his plot. And he does that in the most distant, cold way.
Ever since I was 17, I often fantasized about becoming powerful and inflicting suffering upon everyone who has wronged me in the past.
Isla Vista, on the Californian coast, is a lively student community. That's why Elliot Rodger went there, especially for the girls. His main subject was English, though by spring 2014, he abandoned all learning. By then, his obsession was revenge and retribution.
I will arm myself with deadly weapons and wage a war against all women, and the men they are attracted to. And I will slaughter them like the animals they are.
Unwittingly, his two flatmates became part of his deadly plan. They'd moved into his apartment in autumn 2013. James Hong studied computer engineering. So did his close friend David Wang. Both were 20. They had no idea Elliot Rodger was planning their deaths.
The first people I would have to kill are my two housemates, to secure the entire apartment for myself as my personal torture and killing chamber.
May 23rd, 2014 arrives. Elliot Rodger unleashes the horror he has been preparing. His flatmates James Hong and David Wang are stabbed repeatedly. For David's mother, the grief is overwhelming.
When I heard that news, I cannot functioning. I just shaking, crawled down to on the floor. I cannot. It's nightmare.
His mother and father are left only with memories.
I love my son. At the same time, we're like friends. We talk about everything. Like he's my protector. It was also my joy because he likes holding my hand, like has his arms around my shoulder, and like laughing with me. Whenever I will think what happened to David, I have a hard time to breathe. I just don't want to know. I just want to remember my David was so joyful, peaceful.
But it's not over yet. There is a third person in the apartment. A friend of Rodger's flatmates.
There was never a time in working with him or knowing him that I ever felt like his inability to interact socially or inability to interact in the world outside of, say, his family would ever have led me to believe that this kind of rage was building inside of him. Never.
I see so many hot, beautiful blonde girls walking with absolute stupid, obnoxious-looking douchebags.
You know, sometimes when you look with 2020, you go, now that makes sense. Now I get it. That is not there with Elliot. Not one iota.
Coming from a comfortable background meant money and status were important.
He had a lot of life options. He was at college, he had a moneyed background, and he had a certain element of privilege.
In his narrow world, Rodger believes he's the perfect catch, and that should guarantee him success with girls.
He considers himself incredibly superior. He talks all the way through his manifesto that he is the one true gentleman, he is the alpha male, he's wonderful and amazing, and he seems to expect that women should just throw themselves at him. So he's got this really insular, introverted view that he is brilliant and perfect, and all of the fault seems to lie with the individuals outside of him.
In his videos, Elliot Rodger often harks back to his childhood, the only time he claims to experience any happiness.
I can hear some kids playing down there. When I hear those sounds, it reminds me of the days of my childhood. Those were the best times of my life. I wish I could be a kid again.
Very early in his manifesto, Elliot Rodger identifies the feelings that will trigger the tragedy.
Jealousy and envy. Those are two feelings that would dominate my entire life and bring me immense pain.
Especially when he became an adolescent.
When you hit puberty, your life either becomes heaven on earth or living hell. It all depends on how many girls like you. No girls liked me. And I hate them all for it.
His lack of success with girls was a constant theme of his teenage years. When he moved to college at Isla Vista, he hoped that would change.
I'm 22 years old, and I'm still a virgin. I've never even kissed a girl.
Constant disappointment turned to something much more sinister.
I will destroy all women because I can never have them. I will make them suffer for rejecting me.
Spring 2013, he buys another handgun. This time, it's a Sig Sauer P226, more expensive and more powerful than the Glock.
I was now armed. Who's the alpha male now, bitches?
He becomes a regular on internet forums for involuntary celibates, known as incels. Here he appears to amplify and reinforce his extreme views.
These individuals get angry, they go to this environment, they air their views, they say how angry they are, and it's like an echo chamber. It gets louder and louder, they get more extreme. So what may have started off at the beginning as a bit of a grumble and a complaint, after a period of time it becomes full-on hatred that these individuals are engaging in on a daily basis.
Many of them share my hatred of women, though unlike me, they would be too cowardly to act on it.
On July 20th, 2013, just 4 days before his birthday, Elliot Rodger sets out determined to have sex. He wants to lose his virginity before he turns 22.
I was giving the female gender one last chance to provide me with the pleasures I deserved from them.
If he hadn't focused on the issue of not being able to find a sexual partner or sexual rejection, he would have found another way to characterize this. There would have been something else that was unfulfilling.
Instead, he gets so drunk, he insults a group of girls at a party and starts a fight, but gets badly hurt. He manages to make it home where one of his neighbors spends 3 hours with him.
I would have to talk to him for 5 minutes, and he would reply with one sentence. And then I talked to him for another 5 minutes, and he'd give out another sentence.
I actually gave them all one last chance to accept me, to give me a reason not to hate them, and they devastatingly blew it back in my face.
He was so unbelievably emotional. I distinctly remember him saying, "I'm gonna kill all of those motherfuckers, and I'm gonna kill myself."
I gave the world too many chances. It was time for retribution.
I don't understand you girls. It's like your sexual attraction is flawed. It's perverted.
In April 2014, he uploads some of his video logs.
You should be attracted to guys like me. Beautiful, magnificent guys.
On Wednesday, April 30th, 2014, the police are called to his apartment. The police report says they were alerted by a mental health worker who had been contacted by someone who said they were a friend of Elliot Rodger. This is just 3 weeks before he takes his revenge.
There is some evidence, I think, that shows the depth of his psychopathology here. When the police had been to his property in the reports, they said that he was a pleasant young man. He was a delightful individual, slightly shy and socially awkward.
If they had demanded to search my room, that would have ended everything. For a few horrible seconds, I thought it was all over.
Now, we know that psychopaths are very good. They're very adept at portraying different personalities to different people.
The police leave without finding the weapons, or the manifesto that reveals how he plans to use them.
On the day before the day of retribution, I will start the first phase of my vengeance. Silently killing as many people as I can around Isla Vista. By luring them into my apartment through some form of trickery.
Rodger takes down his video logs. They don't go up again until the early hours of May 23rd, 2014. After killing his 2 flatmates, Elliot Rodger continues with his planned day of retribution. A knife, machetes, and a hammer are found at the scene. His flatmate's friend, George Chen, is also in the apartment. He's 19, studying computer science, and he spends much of his spare time on charity work. His father remembers their last phone call, just 9 days before his son is murdered.
So last thing before hang up, I remember I said, "Okay, George, Daddy always love you." So usually he always said, I love Mom, I love Daddy. So this time I said, "George, I love you very much."
Having George as our son is the biggest gift that God gave us. George is, we are very thankful to him to be our kid, and I think that's the best thing when we think about him.
At 9:17 p.m. on May 23rd, 2014, Elliot Rodger uploads his final video. He also emails the manifesto to a handful of people, including his parents and therapist. When they read it, they alert the police. But already, it's too late.
You will finally see that I am, in truth, the superior one. The true alpha male.
Minutes later, he leaves the house. The killing has only just begun.
Perceptions with Documentary Zone 4.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. I'm up in the hills in Montecito right now. It's truly a beautiful day. But, as I've always said, a beautiful environment is the darkest hell if you have to experience it all alone. And sadly, I've been alone for a very long time.
Soon after uploading this video, Elliot Rodger initiates his day of retribution. 3 men, including his 2 flatmates, have been stabbed and are lying dead in the apartment. But the killing is not over yet. There is more to come. He is about to go on the rampage.
I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve. Utter annihilation.
I'm live in Isla Vista on El Embarcadero. Multiple people injured, multiple bullet holes. We'll update this information as soon as it is available.
The shots were still coming through. He was still shooting at us, still shooting inside the store.
Rodger's failure with women is at the heart of his rage and frustration. They are his next target.
The second phase will represent my war on women. I will punish all females for the crime of depriving me of sex. I will attack the very girls who represent everything I hate in the female gender.
He has carefully researched his next victims. An exclusive club for women students, a sorority house, named using the Greek letters Alpha Phi.
I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB. And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up, blonde slut I see inside there.
The sorority with the most beautiful girls is Alpha Phi sorority. I know exactly where their house is. I have sat outside it in my car to stalk them many times.
One of the common features of mass murder that's clearly true of Elliot Rodgers is that they collect injustices. Elliot goes on at length about his sexual frustration, his inability to have a sexual relationship. He makes it the centerpiece of his quest. So the theme becomes payback and revenge for this grudge about perceived injustices.
One of the themes that seems to emerge is this sort of paranoid or persecutory thinking that the world is out to get him. He would make statements like, how dare you not accept me, or how dare you not recognize my magnificence. He saw the world through this hostile lens where even benign behavior from other people was seen as having hostile intent.
At about 9:25 p.m., with 3 semi-automatic weapons and hundreds of rounds of ammunition, Elliot Rodger drives the short distance to the sorority building. Police believe he hammers on the door of the Alpha Phi sorority house, but no one answers. He gets back into the car and spots a new target: 3 women walking across the street. Veronica Weiss, a 19-year-old undergraduate, and Katie Cooper, a 22-year-old art history student, are killed instantly. Bianca DeCoke is hit 5 times, but survives.
Break 25 Central Certain Area, Del Norte.
He can still achieve the mission of killing the beautiful people who reject him, even if he can't get through the door to kill the group he originally said he would. He doesn't care about his promise to history. He cares about expressing his rage and ending his pain. Revenge is the most common theme among mass killers. I think Elliot Rodgers chose Friday night because that's when lots of young people would be out having a good time, unlike him.
A few blocks away, Ivy Deli is busy with weekend customers. At 9:30 p.m., Rodgers arrives outside and takes aim from the car. Customers, still with goods in their hands, dive for cover as bullets fly over their heads. Dylan Fontillas is one of them.
Within about a minute, that's when I walked in, first 2 shots rang through. Instantly, that actually broke the glass, and that's when we all started scrambling for our life, pretty much.
One girl and Dylan are inches from death as a bullet whistles past them, shattering the glass door of the refrigerator.
I didn't so much hear the gun at first, but I heard the glass breaking, just the shatter of the glass.
Just off to the right of the CCTV stands Chris Martinez, a 20-year-old who planned to be a lawyer. He is cut down in a hail of bullets.
I had just turned, I saw him fall, I kind of took my hand out of my head and turned down and ducked behind the counter.
As Chris slumps to the floor, the young woman who was almost hit reaches out to help him.
We sat there and watched this kid bleed to death. He was no less than 2 feet away from me.
Still in the car, Roger's shooting spree is far from over.
He casually drove away, which was very surprising. You didn't hear any tires screeching or anything like that. It was actually very calm.
I heard that he was a fairly well-known customer there, so he knows that that's a place to go if he was looking for a lot of people.
People might wonder about the emotions of the killer. There's not a lot of emotion other than anger. There's not much fulfillment for them. The expression of the anger doesn't really make them feel relief or feel better about it.
23, we have 2 black and 1 red. Segovia Del Norte. We need medics here now.
What they recognize is there's a sense of finality, that this pain of the anger, the pain of isolation, is going to end because soon they will be dead.
Another gunshot. Shot fired. Shot fired.
In a few short, brutal minutes, Roger has shot and killed 3 young people. But there is more carnage to come. He is about to use his car as a weapon.
If I can't have you, girls, I will destroy you. You denied me a happy life. And in turn, I will deny all of you life. It's only fair.
Elliot Rodger has now murdered 6 students. 3 young men stabbed to death in his own apartment. 2 young women shot dead outside the Alpha Phi sorority house. Another critically injured. 1 young man is shot and killed in the deli. Roger drives the streets with 3 guns firing at random. The police scramble to stop him.
25 gunshots certain area, Del Norte and Cardinal. We're getting further.
I'll take to the streets of Isla Vista and slay every single person I see there.
There's panic as Roger opens fire on students outside the 7-Eleven store.
I hate all of you. Humanity is a disgusting, wretched, depraved species.
The moment is filmed on a smartphone from an apartment as people dive for cover in a pizza restaurant.
I will then make my way to Del Playa, splattering as many of my enemies as I can.
Student Sierra Schwartz has a terrifying encounter.
He lifted up a little black pistol, and I just thought it was an airsoft gun or something. So I was like, hey, what up? And I turned around and I started walking the other way. And then he shot. I just felt the wind pass right by my face, and I was like, what the
I will continue down Del Playa, destroying everything and everyone.
As police find the injured and dead, they call desperately for medics, but the ambulances are being held back until the shooting is over.
We have 2 black and 1 red. Segovia Del Norte. We need medics here now.
The police fire back, hitting Roger in the hip through the car door, but he accelerates away.
When I see the first police car come to their rescue, I will drive away as fast as I can, shooting and ramming anyone in my path until I find a suitable place to finally end my life.
I jumped on the sidewalk and I see a man on a BMW, his body inside the windshield, glass broken everywhere, and now he's 100 feet that way.
100 feet?
At least his body carried on with the car. He went down a few blocks.
Roger doesn't get far. Barely 12 minutes after he begins shooting, he crashes into parked cars.
And when I'm out at the crash scene.
To end my life, I will shoot myself in the head with 2 of my handguns simultaneously. I will not suffer being captured and sent to prison.
I just was advised by the sheriff's officer that they have the sheriff in custody. You got shot as well.
The killing is over. 6 young lives brutally ended. 13 others wounded. The following morning, the police discover the grim scene at Elliot Rogers' apartment.
The 3 male victims were apparently stabbed repeatedly with sharp objects, and it was a pretty horrific crime scene.
Why do things have to be this way? I'm sure that is the question everyone will be asking after the day of retribution is over.
Well,
Within hours, his final video and the manifesto are being watched and read around the world as people try to comprehend what he has done.
he lived like a 20-second walk from my house, and I'd never seen the kid in my life. He went to the same school, we had all the same races, but just another face in the crowd.
Why didn't he tell us? Why didn't he reach out and trust one person to say, wow, I'd really like to meet a girl? But he never articulated that. He never indicated in any way that he was troubled by it or he was angry about it. Never.
Along with his horrifying YouTube posts, Rogers written
In his 141-page manifesto...
Across social networks and mainstream media, the soul-searching begins. From the passionate to the tasteless.
He said that's where the murders would begin. First with his...
and lure others in with trickery, knocking them out with a hammer.
Everyone has an opinion.
I literally don't know how you can't see it as misogynistic, how you could see it as anything other than misogyny.
So my view on Elliot Rodger is that he's a hypocritical idiot, a narcissistic psychopath.
A few postings on the chat rooms Elliot Rodger visited hail him as a hero. But they are quickly taken down. Other sites disappear, but come back.
Perhaps Elliot's attempts to, develop these YouTube videos and communicate with others was really his way of making those types of interactions controllable, perhaps even predictable, on his terms.
There's no question in my mind that in a society that shared data, that had a good protocol for law enforcement to make use of that data, and that had adequate mental health resources, such crimes could be prevented.
He really sees this as a historical document of some significance. I think that plays into the disordered thinking that he had and the narcissistic elements about his own importance in the world.